Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining Michal's Cafe Clinic number 4. Today we're going to talk about a topic that's very close to my heart. If there's one motto that accompanied me from a very young age is this one, and it's something I learned from my father. It's the battle's not over until you win. And this motto also helped me overcome a lot of failures, and it helped me bounce back after really hard times. I feel like one of my biggest strengths in my life is the fact that I truly never give up. Obviously with some exceptions, but like on the things that truly matter to me, on the things that are very important to me and close to my heart, I just don't give up. And it's something obviously that I wasn't born with. It's something that I established. And I can say that I feel like there's nothing really that can break me. Although I should really be careful when I say that, because last time I said it, a week later I tore my ACL, and then this statement of mine really put me to the test. So knock on wood, nothing happens. But the motto is the battle's not over until you win. And at first, my dad's been telling me this since I'm a really young girl, and it didn't really make a lot of sense for me growing up until it did. So I hope that I can convey it to you, and later on you can understand it yourself and get to this realization and epiphany on your own. I'm going to tell you about like my take on this and how it is related to my life, and then I will actually also tell you what my dad thinks about it, because although I've been hearing it over and over again since I was a young girl, I never actually asked him what is the root of this motto that he's passing on to me. So my side first. Like I said, my dad told me this saying all the time, like growing up. It never really meant anything to me, because when you're like 10 years old, 13 years old, 15 years old, it's like, doesn't mean much. The battle's not over. Okay, cool. What battle? And I've been swimming competitively for over 10 years. And as for a lot of other athletes, the sport is taking you through a true roller coaster of ups and downs, and you go high, and the higher you go, the lower you're gonna crash, and the crash always comes eventually. You cannot avoid failures. It doesn't happen. And I was a really talented swimmer growing up. I started winning my Edge conference and improving my time significantly every year. I was on a roll. I became my age champion, and the first time I remember really failing, like really crashing, really going through like an ache of battling my sport, was I think when I was 15. I disqualified my race. My best event is the 50-meter backstroke. And although I was the winner of last year's, I came and I was the absolute loser the following year, because not even that I was beat, like I didn't even have a spot on the podium. I wasn't second, wasn't third. I disqualified. I didn't matter. And my dad is driving me back on the way back from nationals. I remember pouring rain. It was in the winter in February, and he's telling me, well, the battle's not over until you win. And I was really angry. I was really angry. I did not know what he means. It is over. I lost. There's no going back. It's over. The battle's over. Like, there's nothing I can do about it anymore. I disqualified. And he's like, okay, so next summer or next year, the battle's not over. And I was really frustrated, because his view on things were like everything's a battle, everything is a war, and I don't do life like that, and I did not understand it. So long story short, the following summer came more prepared. I did win the H title again. Great, now I'm the winner. But was the battle over? The answer is no. My goals then become more difficult. I wanted to win the national title. I wanted to be Israel champion in swimming, and I worked very hard while having that goal in mind. Swimming, in my opinion, is one of the hardest sport, because training is really draining and it is an individual sport, so it's all on you. So then when I did make the national title when I was 18, you can only imagine how happy I was and how satisfied and how amazing it felt to be the best in my country. And that feeling didn't last long because goals change. And I then wanted to make the cut to represent my country at an international meet. And this is where I got stuck. Now I was chasing a specific number. It wasn't like, oh, just get better. This was like a 30.3 seconds in the 50 backstroke, I remember at the time. And this was something very specific. If you do a 13.3, you get to go. If you do a 30.4, you are out. So a lot of destiny is being marked by the 10th and the 100th of a second. And I had 3 chances to make the cut, and I did not make it. The last chance that I had, I was so close. I was less than 0.2 of a second away from what I needed to do. And I slowly started understanding in my late teens that my goals are my goals. That winning means different things to different people. And that my sense of accomplishment rooted in something different than what most people consider a win. So I don't owe anything to anybody. Nobody cares how much I did. Nobody cares how hard I worked. Nobody cares what was my journey, what I prioritize and what I find value in. It's all me. It's all on me. I owe the sense of accomplishment to myself. I owe the win to myself. The feeling of giving 100% towards something and not achieving it is one of the hardest things to feel. And I think that this is why a lot of people choose, intentionally or unintentionally, to not give 100%, just because it is so much easier to live with yourself knowing that you gave 80% or 90%, but not 100%. I could have given more. Because then if you don't succeed, you can tell yourself, oh, if I would have given 100%, I would probably have done it. But I'll never know because I never actually gave 100%. But what happens when you give 100% and you still fail? Then it's a lot harder. But that's exactly the beautiful thing about life. Because failing is a part of the process. And understanding that you will fail is a part of what builds you in a character and builds your strength and allows you to be an empowered person that empowers others, and a person that takes chances, and a person that eventually will succeed. Through ups and downs, I made it to the World University Games. My God, when I made that, I have to show you a picture. When I made that title, when I made it to the World University Games, it was one of the most happiest moments of my life. After failing for a few years to make it, it was amazing. And through college, 5 years of college, I went through one of the hardest times for me in terms of the sport, with over 3 years of not improving my times in meters, and swimming stayed very stagnant for me. I didn't improve my ranking internationally. I didn't make any cuts to represent international meets, and it was very hard not to give up. And then a real test came through because I tore my ACL. And this could have been a perfect time to quit swimming. Could not have been a better time to finish this 10-year journey of swimming and put my goals aside and look forward to something else. I was 23 years old. It was my senior year at college swimming. 3 years have passed since my last international meet. 3 years have passed since I've improved my best time at a main event, which is, like I said, the 50-meter backstroke. And I was long forgotten. Like, a new generation came through that didn't even know who I am. I was a nobody. But quitting is, to me, quitting is like losing. And it was giving up. So I couldn't do that. And I can never do that. And the battle is truly not over until you win. And my win then was defined by, in a more modest way. So my win was to race again after my ACL surgery. And my win was then make it back and to finish what I started. So I could not finish my senior year in my undergraduate university. So then I transferred, started my MBA, and completed one more year, one more incredible year at Stony Brook University, in which I had the chance of improving my times, winning a conference championship, and setting a school record. And I would not have experienced it if it wasn't for me deciding that I am not going to give up. And it is not easy. But first you have to define what it is a win for you. And it is also the perfect time to talk about it because I am still in the process. I'm still there. I never actually won my goals from when I was 20. I'm still there, and I still do believe that the best is yet to come. So my dad takes on this is a little bit different, but also very interesting. My dad, as I said, is a marathon runner. I think he's been running his whole life, and he really was the one that pushed all of our family to do sport and do it competitively because he knew just how much doing a competitive sport adds value to your character. And he says, and I didn't know this before I had to do some research for this clinic, but he says that he was inspired by a fiction book that he read. The author was Robin Hobb. It's a book that came out in 1995, and in the book there are some characters, and the main character is educating a young prince to be a warrior. And the young prince is learning about the art of war, about martial arts, about fighting, about defending, about Krav Maga, horse riding and battling and training, everything. And the master is teaching the young prince that the battle is not over until you win. And by that he's basically mocking to the idea that it's not over until you're over. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's not over until it's over. Because what happens when it's over? Is it over? So by that he's upgrading that saying and basically adding on that the battle is not over until you decide it's over. Until you feel that you've achieved that sense of winning and accomplishment, and then it can be over. It does not depend on anything external, it really depends on you. And as soon as he read it, he related to that feeling and felt very connected to it, and that's how he put his take on it. So for my dad, for him, the most important thing in life is to have goals. Kind of like big goals, something that's even scaring you a little bit. And the goals can change, obviously, with your age or with your economic situation or with your health stage and stuff like that, but they can also update as you go on. There must be a big goal, otherwise, as he says, life doesn't mean much. And I can kind of relate to it, as you understood from what I was telling earlier. When he was 20, he wanted to go under 3 hours, and he did it. Now, in his late 50s, he's trying to go under 3 hours and 30 minutes. And he was very close. He was a minute and a half away from it a couple of years ago. And it becomes harder and harder with age, obviously. So he might have to adjust his goal and the way that he sees it. But the idea is that once you reach the goal, the battle's over. If you didn't reach the goal, the battle's not over. The problem starts when, because of events that are out of your control, you can't reach your goal. So I'm sure we can all relate to coronavirus and the way that the COVID changed everybody's plans. So if you're not making the Olympics, then I'm sure there are 15,000 athletes that are very disappointed with the fact that the Olympics got postponed. And I mean, knock on wood that they will not get canceled, but that's, in my opinion, how it's gonna go. In 4 years, You might be in a completely different mindset. You might be in a completely different stage in your life, and you won't be able to focus on the goal of making the Olympics. So you might have to go for a different goal, like World Championships. Or you might have to convert it into a professional goal or something personal. And my dad also told me a really inspiring story. I've heard this story before, but it just fits so perfectly to explain this essence of the battle's not over until you win. So this is the story of Gizachew. He is an Israeli marathon runner, and back in 2012, he did not make the Olympics. But the way it happened was pretty heartbreaking. So he tried to make the Olympics, and he needed to make 2 hours and 7 minutes at the time, running the marathon. He ran in Rotterdam, in the Dutch country, and his clock broke around the 6th kilometer. So basically, he was running 90% of the race without a clock, without being able to keep track of your time. He missed the cut by 46 seconds. The cut was 2 hours and 7 minutes, and he did 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 46 seconds. That's such a slim gap in a marathon. It's basically nothing. And he was pretty heartbroken. And although it is so uncommon to run more than one marathon in a month, he decided to go for it for a very, very, very last chance meet in Prague, Czech Republic. And he ran another marathon. My dad, when he finishes a marathon, he cannot stand for 3 days. So approaching another marathon within 3 weeks is pretty noble. And this time, you're not going to believe it, but Gizachew missed the cut again, and this time by 7 seconds. 7 seconds! 7 seconds in a marathon. That's like, if I convert it to my sprinting and swimming, that's 100 of a second. In a marathon, that is literally nothing. But then he just converted his goal, and he continued with his battle, and obviously he's 45 years old now, and now he's a coach. Now Gizachew is training marathon athletes to make the 8 cut and sending athletes to the Olympics and actually making the Olympic team as a coach. So that's a pretty inspiring story to me. It's obviously not the same, but it is still a goal, something big that is really driving you. The reason why this is really, really important, in my opinion, is it's because it's really providing you the energy as well as the mental strength to deal with failures. I don't think failures is a bad thing. I've had several failures in my life, and I've gone stronger after every single one. There are 2 things that he used to tell me again and again and again. One of them is the battle's not over until you win, and the other one is life is full of suffer. Oh, you don't want to do the dishes? Well, life is full of suffer. Oh, you don't really want to work hard? Well, life is full of suffer. Oh, you really don't want to study? Is math too hard for you? Life is full of suffer. And I don't think it would get welcomed by Americans too much. But the expectation is really that you cannot expect to get treats everywhere you go. You can't expect to be pleased by everything that you do. It's something that he made up. It's a very Russian mentality. Your way to the win, to your goal, is full of suffer. In sport, you see it in the cleanest way possible. And in life, in a little bit different way, but it's not going to be easy. It is very, very hard to do. So many times you crash and you fall on your face. And there's nobody that goes into work and learns something and it's all smooth all the way. Nobody can tell you that. It does not exist. So the idea of being disappointed when something doesn't go smoothly is really silly if you think about it. I told my dad, I don't think I can say that to Americans because mental health is a big problem in the US, and he says, well, this is the recipe to avoid mental problems, because if you understand that life is full of suffer, then you are avoiding getting depressed because if you're putting yourself a goal and you know that the way from where you are now to where you want to be is full of suffering, then feeling the suffering, you can recognize this. The battle's not over until you win is the one most significant, important lesson that I can pass on to you. And I really, really hope that you will take some time to think about what truly matters to you and your goals in your professional or personal life. And understand that it is up to you. It is up to you to decide how much effort you're putting in and when is it going to be enough. When is the win? When are you going to accomplish it? And it means different things to different people. Thank you so much for attending this clinic today, and I really truly hope that you enjoyed and learned something. If you liked the clinic, please consider attending the 5th clinic next week about personal branding on social media. And I'm also offering one-on-one meetings with students. So if you have any questions or if you want to ask for my advice on something, please feel free to reach out. I would love to help out. And that's it. Thank you so much.